Hello, friends of Wildland Fire. This is Darren Clayville, the South Dakota State Fire Meteorologist, here with your updated version, the early June version of your 2025 summer South Dakota Wildland Fire Potential Outlook. To get started, let's just look at kind of the climatic drivers that we examine when trying to look at the overall fire potential for the summer months. And again, this is primarily for western South Dakota. During the summer, eastern South Dakota doesn't really have a lot of fire issues due to more precipitation and then just the heavy prevalence of row crops. So the primary focus of this is going to be on western South Dakota, with the understanding that there are some wildlands in central and eastern South Dakota that could be impacted by some of the fire danger issues as we progress through the summer as well, mainly river bottoms, eastern red cedar stands, those types of things. In June and July, for big fires in western South Dakota, drought. That's really the name of the game. Drought, above average temperatures, and short-term precipitation deficits. When we start touching into August, drought is not as big of a concern, but we do want to see above average temperatures and short-term precipitation deficits kind of during and just preceding that month. Going back a year, here's the past 12 months of percent of normal precipitation. The warm colors are below average precipitation, cool colors above average. And you can see most of South Dakota and kind of the greater northern Great Plains below average precipitation by and large over the past year. And we did see some expanding drought, which I'll continue to touch on throughout this presentation. Zooming into South Dakota, this is our percent of normal precipitation over the past 12 months. And again, you can see kind of southwestern South Dakota drier than average, somewhere on the order of 60 to maybe 80% of our average precipitation over that year. And, just kind of ballparking, Rapid City gets about 17 inches of rain. And so if you're looking at 60 to 80%, you're looking at somewhere on the order of, 12 to 15 inches of rain kind of across the region. Northern Black Hills obviously get more precipitation than that, but they're still below average for the past 12 months. The other thing I want to point out is southeastern South Dakota, the Sioux Falls area, the Sioux City area going up towards Yankton. They've been drier than average as well. Again, right around that 60% of average precip over the past 12 months. And northeastern South Dakota's had a few of their own kind of dryness issues. Over the last 90 days, this is looking at early March through now early June, percent of normal precipitation on the left, and then departure from normal precipitation in inches on the right. You can see again that Black Hills area has been drier than average, and southeastern South Dakota, now the Sioux Falls area, has been much drier than average over the past, really since the start of the year, but this is showing the past 90 days. And if we're looking at overall precipitation deficits, which is the right chart, kind of in the Black Hills region, you're looking at anywhere from kind of, maybe 1 inch up to 3 inches below average for the time of the year. And then southeastern South Dakota, again, kind of that 1 to 3 inches, maybe even 4 inches below average for this time of the year. And when we start to see these kind of precipitation deficits this time of the year, it's telling. May and June are kind of the two wettest months for western South Dakota. June, July is kind of the wet time period for eastern South Dakota. But when we start racking up these precipitation deficits this time of the year, it becomes concerning because this is the time of the year when we normally get all our rainfall. And we've had well above average temperatures across nearly all of the state. Black Hills has been more near average, but yeah, we've been a few degrees above average over the past 90 days across the state of South Dakota. Our drought monitor, top left little chart, is from a year ago. Bottom right is from the last week's drought monitor. If you had a brain fart there, it is June. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around the fact it's June. The big charts where we're at this year in terms of our drought monitor, and top left is kind of where we were at last year about this time. And you can see that drought's really been expanding across the state in the greater northern Great Plains region. So across South Dakota right now, we have a few pockets of no drought or abnormally dry conditions, but most of the states are really kind of D0, D1, and then a couple of pockets of D2 drought or severe drought across southwestern South Dakota. This is the 4-week change in the drought monitor, and you'll see that there's some green color across South Dakota. That means we've improved in the overall drought monitor over the past 4 weeks. Yeah, we've had some decent precipitation in May. It really was a pretty good month for most of the state in terms of precipitation. Had a few shots of 1 inch or 2 inches of rain here and there, and we were able to kind of claw our way out of some of the drought that we were in coming into May versus now coming into June. So there has been some improvement, but I think this presentation will show that that improvement may be short-lived. I'm going to flip through these charts kind of quick, but this is our year-to-date precipitation. The brown line on all of these charts I will show, and it'll be all for just different cities, is the year-to-date normal accumulated precipitation. So again, that starts at 0 on the left-hand side, which is January 1st. And on the very right-hand side of the chart, looking at the bottom, you'll see that we're looking at today. And so Rapid City, the green line is our 2025 accumulation. You can see how it kind of jumps up because, when we do get those precipitation events, they kind of, bring a half an inch or a couple inches of rain. And you can see that right now we're sitting about 1 inch below average, maybe a little bit more than 1 inch below average in terms of our year-to-date precipitation. We've had a little bit of a dry spell over the past couple of days after those precipitation events that we saw last week. Shifting over to Custer in the Black Hills, they're about 1 inch below average as well. Kind of maintaining, but it's been a little bit drier over the past couple of days. Skipping down now towards Pine Ridge, they were really dry coming into the month of May. But again, they did see some beneficial precipitation over the past couple of weeks, and not to say that that's gotten them out of their drought situation, but it's definitely helped, and they're still sitting about a half an inch below average in terms of year-to-date precipitation. Going over to Pierre, they're doing a little bit better. They're about average. They actually had an exceptionally dry late winter and early spring, basically no precipitation going through the end of March, but they've been able to pick up some late season snowfall and then some rainfall as we progress through the year. And then if I skip over to Sioux Falls again, it just stresses out that Sioux Falls is seeing some pretty good precipitation deficits in the order of 4 inches or more now year to date. And so, they're at 60% of average. So that's kind of the spectrum of how we've collected the rainfall since June 1. So let's look out our weather and drought outlook. I say late spring through early fall because I will talk about this month. Remember that summer starts here in a couple of weeks. For June, this is the outlook produced a few days ago. On the left, we have temperature. On the right, we have precipitation. Pretty high confidence and above average temperatures for this month. Not as much confidence in the precipitation, at least across South Dakota, but maybe some hints of some drier than average conditions across at least the western portion of the state. Interestingly enough, the area of Arizona and then going into Oklahoma, let's touch on Arizona for a little bit. They're actually seeing some quasi-monsoonal moisture early in the year. They've been getting a lot of precipitation down there, which has been abnormal. And then kind of the same thing down in Oklahoma and the central to southern Great Plains. And that enhanced precipitation is why you see equal chances for monthly temperature outlook. If the soils are really wet, you tend not to be as warm because you evaporate that water in the soil matrix rather than warming it up. Going out to July, August, and September. Now, this was a product that was made May 15th, so it's a little bit older from the Climate Prediction Center, but that's all right. On the left, you can see that nearly everywhere in the United States will likely see above average temperatures during that 3-month time frame. And then on the right, the really interesting part is there are some strong signals for below average precipitation across the upper Midwest, northern Great Plains, and the northern Rockies. And that's something that we're really going to have to key in on as we work into our kind of prime summer fire season months. Busy slide, but the bottom 8 tiles on this are basically all the different dynamic models that we look at in order to assess seasonal temperatures. And so this is a July, August, September, JAS, July, August, September, kind of a prediction, if you will, from all the different models of temperature. And of course, the warm colors are implying high confidence and above average temperatures. And when we see all of the models lining up in such a way, then that gives us even more confidence or less uncertainty. And so I do believe that we are going to see high probabilities of above average temperatures across the greater United States. And really the heat's going to be focused on the northern Great Plains from what it looks like. Precipitation, kind of in a similar vein. The brown colors on the bottom 8 tiles indicate below average precip. Green colors are above average precip. And again, if we look at the top tiles, the top left is really the overall forecast showing high confidence in below average precipitation during that same July, August, September timeframe. Going on a little bit farther, of course, we live in a state with a 12-month fire season, so we kind of neglect fall. We do happen to get quite a few very large fires in South Dakota in the fall. And again, we're edging towards maybe warmer than average temperatures and below average precipitation. So it's kind of a continuation of what we may be seeing through the summer months. Similar graphics to what I showed before, but now this is SON, or September, October, November. And again, at least from all the dynamic models, are kind of pointing to warmer than average conditions continuing through the fall months, while the precipitation it doesn't look quite as bleak, but definitely some signals for drier than average conditions going through the fall months as well. And remember that, especially when we get to October, November, it's a drier time of the year to begin with. Our overall drought outlook, most of the areas in South Dakota that have seen improvement in the U.S. Drought Monitor are likely to degrade back into those drought conditions. So we are expecting some drought development is probably likely across most of South Dakota, with continuation of drought where we are currently seeing drought existing. And again, drought development is likely across much of the Northern Great Plains, Upper Midwest, and Northern Rockies. So summary, it's shaping up to be a hot and dry summer across Northern Great Plains and Northern Rockies. We do have current drought conditions. We are looking for probably an expansion of those drought conditions. Going in from May now into June, our average precipitation is roughly 3/4 of an inch per week. Even in June, it's probably even closer to an inch per week. It's just so if you're not watching, a week go by and you're not getting an inch of rain in your rain gauge, well, you're setting yourself up for a dry summer. Kind of some proxy years that we were looking at are 2017 and 2006. They're kind of similar oceanic conditions across the globe in those 2 years. Both of those years were warmer than average. Both of those years were drier than average. Actually, both of those, at least in Rapid City, had about 12.5 inches of precip for the entire year. And again, Rapid City averages roughly 17 inches. Those were also 2 big fire years. Remember Legion Lake in December of 2017, and then 2006, there was kind of big fires all over the place starting in July with a big dry lightning outbreak. And so, when we're looking at these proxy years, again, it's just looking at patterns, but those patterns are kind of starting to perk up a little bit and showing their face. So just things to think about. Here's some of my expected summer products and services. You can read them. Feel free to reach out at any time. Happy to help. Always available for phone calls or a Zoom meeting or Teams or WebEx or whatever it is you use for your organization. And again, training. If you need some in-person training, some virtual training, I do have some posted videos on YouTube that may help you better understand some of the products that are out there. My contact information is there on the screen. Feel free to reach out anytime.